Hi, this is Andrew Krug, the Global Community Manager for Niantic Labs, and you're listening to the Agent Academy podcast.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/agentacademy. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle or MP3 player. And now, welcome to the Agent Academy.
Downloading latest intel package. Welcome back. I was getting worried about you.
It's Agent Academy, episode 50, recorded on March 4th, 2019. I'm Agent Goonie Guy. We've got a special episode tonight all about anomalies, and we'll get to a little bit of news, but I'm joined with Agent Tomogram and Agent Lawgeek07. How are you guys doing tonight?
I'm good.
Trying to stay warm. That's what I'm doing.
Here it's cold up there. Let's go around in a circle and let everybody know who y'all are in the community. If they don't already, they probably already do. Start with Tomogram, and I may be saying that wrong. I just see the name. I don't know how to say it.
It's close enough. It's Tomogram.
Tomogram.
So I'm Tomogram. I am the former POC for New Orleans Anomaly. That happened about a week and a half ago. And I'm here to help try and promote future anomalies and answer any questions.
And Lawgeek?
All right. Yeah. No, I'm Lawgeek07. I am also another former POC point of contact. I was for Recursion Prime for Minneapolis just back in October, and like Tomogram here, I'm here to promote things for future anomalies coming up here and answer questions and just talk about what's happened.
Sweet. And I got to meet Tomogram down in NOLA for a little bit at the after party, and Anomaly seemed to go off great down there. How do you think it went?
I thought it went I'm surprised how well it went. Kind of planning one of these things. This isn't my profession, and throwing a party that big for that many people is not really a skill set I had. But I'm really happy it went off smoothly. I'm also happy we won. That helps a lot. It's easier to throw a good party when everyone's in good spirits from after winning.
Right. Is that how you kind of look at being the POC for the anomaly is like throwing a party, the biggest party in NOLA for Ingress?
It basically is. It's making sure everyone has a good time. It's not, well, it's even beyond kind of, this is what I was taught when I was leading teams when I first became a captain many years ago. Being a captain isn't just leading your team to victory that day. It's making sure they're having a good time to make sure they come back to future anomalies. And that's kind of how I viewed being a POC as, is just making sure everyone had an enjoyable time to make sure they come back to New Orleans or go to other future anomalies.
And Lawgeek, how was your being a POC up there? Similar situation? Yeah,
it's much the same thing. What Stan's or Tomogram's here has been talking about, that's very much what it was. Just trying to, the first thing was I want everyone to have a good time. And I agree, winning is great. That makes things a lot easier when you're at the end of it, but just make sure everyone's at least smiling, feeling welcome, they're enjoying themselves. I would have rather that everyone had a good time and was satisfied and lost, as opposed to everybody have a really shitty time and won. And I think we succeeded pretty well with that. I think everybody seemed pretty happy by the end of it, or at least as close as you can, sort of thing. There's only so much you can do when it's 40-some degrees outside and a little bit of light rain in the morning.
So trying to get more agents out to anomalies in general. A lot of agents don't even know what they are. They just kind of hear about them, maybe see a news story here or there on the website. What would be y'all's like elevator pitch to get agents out?
My sell is usually, anomalies are one of those few times where there's an endpoint. It matters. Like at the end of the day, you have a winner and a loser, and everything you've been working up towards that kind of determines that. So that's kind of how I sell it as. It's like you have an answer by the end of the day. Kind of all the other day-to-day stuff, it's fun, but does anybody really remember who won like 15 cycles ago in some random place in Kansas? But people remember who won Kansas City 2 years ago, or St. Louis, or Nashville. People remember that. And then the other thing I sell it as is camaraderie. Kind of, it's not just an anomaly, it's kind of like an enlightened, for us in North America, it's an enlightened convention. Like the night before in our hotel, it's like a sea of green. And just imagine just walking up to just strangers and being able to talk about Ingress all night long, just a random stranger. And we can all share that story about getting into cars with strangers. And that's like an Ingress thing. And that's like the amazing thing about going to an Anomaly, is that camaraderie and that convention kind of spirit that's there. And that's how kind of I sell Anomalies.
That's almost exactly the same thing I do with it too. I agree completely. It's so one day where the rules are agreed to everybody. It's the same time, discrete. We all follow the same thing. So it's a way to test things in a way where it's all on the same level. And you get to, it's a convention. It's a con. It really is. And you get to make friends that are you're going to keep for a long time, and people that you might only see in these environments. That's a chance for all of us to get together and have a good time.
And kind of the other thing I was thinking about today, like with Anomalies, it's like kind of doing an op, but you let the resistance know you're doing it. You're letting them know what time it's going to happen, which is awesome. When you win, like, you've won, because you had real opponents, as opposed to kind of the other stuff where you try and pull something off at 3 o'clock in the morning while everyone's asleep. It can be hard, but it's even more hard when you have an opponent who's actively trying to play against you.
Hard mode for Ingress. So, and we've got a couple Anomalies coming up still this year. I'm going to be heading out to Atlanta. Are y'all going to the next set?
I'm going to Atlanta myself. That's where I'm going this month. So that's my plan, and definitely Chicago after that. Unfortunately, I can't internationally fly right now. So
yeah, I'm definitely going to Atlanta because it's too close for me not to go to, and I'm also definitely going to Chicago because Chicago is going to be big. I think it's probably the only time we've had just one Anomaly site in North America that day. So it's probably going to be like the first time where like East Coast, West Coast, South, everyone just shows up to one site, and we kind of get to collaborate and see how we do things. I think oftentimes we're split between like west of the Mississippi or east of the Mississippi, and we can never join forces. And I'm looking forward to Chicago. That one's going to be big, and that's how I'm selling Chicago too. Like, if you've never been to one, or you only have one chance to go to an Anomaly, Chicago's it. Yep. That is going to be the biggest, baddest Anomaly we've had for a while, and probably in the future.
So, and it's like you said, it's the only Anomaly on that day, and it's the finale. It's the actual last one of the whole series for, I guess, this set of Anomalies. Like, I'm just expecting, 3 times, 5 times the normal size of the Anomalies. Do you think they're going to have any issues with kind of like they did the first Pokemon Go Fest, or do you think they've kind of learned from that to make sure Ingress doesn't go the same route?
I think it's going to be a little better. I don't know if they're going to try to stuff everybody in a single park as much as they did with Pokemon Go Fest. I was actually in the city that day when that happened, and I think part of the problem is they overloaded it all on like one cellular network, all in one place, which I don't think we're going to have that problem. But I don't know. I could be wrong. Who knows? Depends how many people are there.
Yeah, it's hard to predict Anomaly attendance. I can't say it's going to be like double or triple what other ones are, but I can imagine it being big because there are so many people who just play Ingress for Anomalies, and it being the only day, it should be a huge turnout for both sides. And the other selling point is, I know Chicago isn't going to love me for this, but Midwest has predominantly been blue, and that's kind of something we've been chipping at as Enlightened, trying to take their I view the Midwest being Resistance stronghold, and it was amazing that we took Minneapolis from them. And I'm looking forward to taking Chicago from them too.
And I believe Atlanta's been notoriously Resistance heavy as well. Does that affect Anomalies a lot? Like that the city where it's being held is normally one faction or the other? Or can you just not tell when everybody comes from out of state and out of town and you just don't know until people get there?
I mean, you can look at a place where you get there and know that, and I don't know how much of a difference it's going to make sometimes, though. I don't know. I don't want to give away too many tricks, I guess. For
right. Yeah. Well, so if I ask something that goes towards like, something shouldn't be talked about, just say so. It's. Sure. I don't normally know. Like I know some things that I try to stay away from, and probably I'm overcautious. So now that y'all are here, I'm just gonna talk and ask the questions, and y'all are gonna have to decide if y'all are gonna get in trouble or not. So y'all know more. So
I could weigh in on that question. My personal opinion is kind of 90% of the time the local scene, or the kind of whoever's dominating the local scene doesn't matter as much for an anomaly. Kind of for New Orleans, if anyone would have looked at the intel map leading up to the New Orleans anomaly last weekend, or a weekend and 2 weekends ago, it was predominantly blue. Rez just has been outplaying us locally here for about almost a year, and they simply just have more free time. But we managed to easily beat them by 80 points. And I think that's true with a lot of sites, like in Minneapolis. As an outsider, I was working there a lot. It was predominantly blue, with a lot of blue 8s. So I don't think the local scene matters as much. However, there are some kind of outliers. Portland, Portland, Oregon. They have a really strong local scene there. And also I believe San Francisco, and I always say California and Oregon, oftentimes they could probably just win an anomaly by themselves. That's how strong they are locally. But I think other sites, whatever's happening locally, it's hard, doesn't affect the outcome. But the local organizing team does have a huge outcome on the anomaly. And that's setting us up and after parties and making sure we're all prepared. That has a huge impact on whether we win or lose.
So, as players think about going to anomalies, maybe it's maybe they've never been. What would you suggest they do to get involved, get prepared, get ready for their first anomaly?
Play would be the first thing I'd say. Get used to actually using your scanner as part of it. I mean, it seems kind of silly sometimes, but if you got a player who's not out there as much, an agent who doesn't engage as much because they've been retired or whatnot, or if they've been really working on other things that don't always involve the scanner, you want to really refresh that again, get used to that. I mean, that's the first step right there. I mean, you're not that useful if you don't know with what you got. That'd be the first step. And then from there, it's just being used to working as part of a team. It's really part of it. You got to be accustomed to work with other people, be with the other agents. I don't know if necessarily follow orders, but just be able to coordinate together and understand what's going on. And I think the third thing I throw out there is just be ready to have fun in that sense. Just get that little bit of extra excitement. You're going to be out there and do something fun and see people and enjoy a new city, or enjoy your city in a different way if that's your home. So, and that's first places I would start.
Yeah, I agree. I would recommend just have an open mind, be ready to make new friends, and what's really important is whatever the site chooses as their chat program, please be open to using it and downloading it, and because the way we win anomalies is communication and organization, and if you refuse to download the chat program, it makes it really hard to communicate with you. And kind of just once you do that, like the information is there, and it's as much as people want to kind of soak in. We could definitely overload players with as much information as they want, or they can take the bare minimum and kind of just do what they do the minimum and just have a good time. But just be open-minded and just look forward to having a good time. Yeah.
And I know you were really stressing the have a good time, and that earlier we were talking about. I was thinking about doing either streaming or just filming during the Atlanta Anomaly. Not sure if how much impact I would make. And you were talking about one anomaly that came down to just a few points. What you want to tell me about that again, and so, everyone else?
That was what I was talking about. That was New Orleans Vianor. And that was, I think, a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. We Enlightened won by 20-something points. But let me rewind. That was a really hard-fought fight. And almost a lot of us Enlightened thought we had lost. And this was also a primary. So it was one of those sites where Niantic announced the scores on the spot. Jahan was there, and I think old Jahan and old Acolyte were there. I don't know if those actresses have been replaced, but they were there. They announced the score. But going into this kind of announcement, Enlightened mostly thought we lost, and Resistance thought they won. They were on cloud 9. And we all knew it was a really hard-fought anomaly. So Niantic was announcing the score, and they announced that Enlightened won by 20-ish points. And to see that, I've never seen a crowd's mood shift so quickly. Like, Enlightened was now like cheering. They were like ecstatic, and Resistance, like they were just silent. I've been actually searching for that feeling for like a year and a half. That kind of win, like that hard-fought win, which is one of the reasons I went to Minneapolis. But yeah, that anomaly was. Every action mattered because we only won by 20-something points. So I think that was like the score of I can't remember if volatiles were only worth like 10 points or 20 points back then, but I tell people like every action mattered. If one person stayed at home, we could have lost. If a recharger decided to take an extra bathroom break, we could have lost. If someone decided to go buy an extra beer, we could have lost. The margins were so small that almost everything mattered. So yeah, that's actually one of the reasons why I went to Minneapolis, and I'm trying to do as much of my anomalying in the Midwest.
So start bringing free beer coupons to hand out to the other faction, but only good before the anomaly's over. You gotta get it this hour. Go on. So, and the rules change sometimes drastically, sometimes not drastically. Sometimes they just add one new thing in, or change how something flows. Do you think new agents should really dig into the rules, or kind of talk to their teams and just kind of wait to be told what to do? What do you prefer when you're like talking to teams? I don't know if that's getting too much into tactics, but
I think just as like a general policy for anybody going to this, it doesn't matter what team what side you're on at this point. I mean, if you're showing up, you should know what you're doing. I think it's worth it. Some of this here, it's a matter of, I mean, if you're going to go to the anomaly, you're going to be there with the people, and reading the rules, I would think would be part of it. At least like glance at it, know what you're supposed to be there for. And, it's just
knowing the rules does make you a better player. I wouldn't say you have to actually read the rules. I feel like within Enlightened that we're good enough where we can manage if our players don't read the rules. But I find it more enjoyable, and it's with almost everything else in life. If someone understands why they're doing something, they're more likely to enjoy it. And for me, one of the things I enjoy about Anomalies is the theory crafting about anomaly rules or strategies, talking about the different strategies that can be used. And actually something I really enjoyed after the New Orleans anomaly was sitting down people I really respected and thought I was smart and be like, hey, what did you think about the rule set and what did you think about our strategy? And we could, there are players that could just sit there for hours kind of theory crafting and debating what we could have done, what we did well, what we could have done even better, and that is something I love about Anomaly play.
Agreed completely.
Yeah, I know before this last one there was, you know, talk about the artifacts and the media and the drops, and I know even when I was on site I was still talking to agents who had those rules kind of misconstrued. They thought they had an hour, you know, after the anomaly to do with the media, and so it's I guess it's things like that I caution like new players to, you know, ask questions and don't just think you know the rules either, because what they are on paper is sometimes different than what they really are, if you haven't played in the anomalies in firsthand, and like follow your captains. Like sometimes you think you know better, even though it's your first anomaly, you probably don't. So listen and follow the advice of others. I think one of the best things about anomalies is learning the game, especially if it's like the first few anomalies. It's like, wow, I didn't even realize that's how I should do this or that's faster or more efficient or things like that. You actually learn a lot, I think, as well as have fun and meet other players. So just be open to new things when you get there in the anomaly. Definitely worth it.
Yeah. I think one other thing we focus on, because Ryan and I, we're really into anomalies, but I think we forgot to talk about like mission day and all the other kind of. I'm more competitive. I don't really do mission day because I can't win mission day, but people come to anomalies for also mission day and also doing all the city banners. So there are people who aren't super competitive. There's other stuff for you. Like there's so many things for people to do in Ingress. It's almost like a sandbox type game. I think it probably started out like a sandbox type game. It was a proof of concept. But there's so much stuff for everyone to do. There's the competitive side, there's mission day, there's meeting new friends, there's field art, there's just so much. So yeah, I wouldn't, if other people have, like mission day is a big thing. I didn't even know until a couple weekends ago. People come to these things and some don't even go to the anomaly. They just go to mission. I was surprised.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
I was surprised at that.
The part of that convention kind of concept again that we were talking about before. I think that's a lot of it sort of here, and yeah, I mean that's really part of what it is. I mean, there's also all the Go Rock events that are going to go with it. There's the new Intel Ops that's going with it. And I think it goes to what
Hey, Goonie guy, this random guy that showed up, he's the other Minneapolis POC. It's Dark Knight.
Don't blame me.
I know Dark Knight.
Yo.
How's it going? So there's a little split screen action going on. We'll get it worked out in a second. How are you doing, Dark Knight?
Pretty good. Yeah, I heard you guys talking. Thought I'd hop in. You were talking about a bunch of stuff I like. So the recent stuff about the add-on events is near and dear to me, and definitely a struggle from a planning perspective, but a very good thing to have for recruiting in terms of there's something out there for everybody. If you want to be more physical, there's physical stuff. If you enjoy just wandering around without the points goals, there's stuff for that too with the mission day and all that fun stuff.
Well, and so we've talked about a little bit about anomalies and about mission days. You want to give people a brief overview over some of the side events, the Go Ruck stuff?
Yeah, so Go Ruck is one of my favorite things, and I hope it continues well into the future. There's still some discussion outside of our hands that's going on what exactly that looks like. But in past anomalies, it's been really neat. There's been overnight and now gone to previous evenings since it was taking up too much time. Go Ruck Stealth has been really cool with being able to provide intel for the following day through competition of physical challenges and endurance events. That usually takes place of some longish marches punctuated by different relay events to actually earn the intel, which is really cool. I hear that they're taking intel out of it, so I don't know what that's going to be replaced with, if anything. But it is a lot of fun, and it's definitely a good way to push yourself as an agent, maybe less from the scanner point of view, which is, for me, really neat because it allows you to surpass the limits of the technology. We've all had our scanner crash on us, but when your body is what's crashing, you feel more in control of it, and to me, it's a great sense of accomplishment.
So, do y'all know anything about the getting the intel for stealth or not getting it? You're saying that they're not going to do it in the future, or you don't know?
So going forward, that is the current out of game intel, I guess would be how to put that. Niantic will no longer be providing the intel through stealth ops, which kind of makes sense as now we have that intel ops that Lawgeek touched on, which is more adventure puzzle solving from what I understand. I hope to get to participate in that semi-soon, but we'll see how it lines up.
I tried it in Austin, and it was interesting. But I've talked about that before, and people can look at we've got a story on the site with more information about that, but they're going to do it again in Atlanta, and so it's signed up for the intel ops there. I love the scavenger hunt stuff. So I don't know if I'd call it a scavenger hunt so much as like escape room ingress
escape room
style.
without a room is the best description that I've heard of it.
Yeah.
And with all these things, whenever Niantic works with outside companies, GoRuck or Foxhound is who's behind the intel ops, if I remember right.
Yeah.
It's all a learning experience. It's getting people that don't normally work together to work together
in a new city. Like they're from California, I think. So it's like now they have to throw this escape room event in a whole different city that, you know, maybe they've been to look at, but I can't imagine with the amount of tickets they sell for it that the cost to do that really isn't cost effective to fly 50 people over there to run an event. So they're probably skeleton crew to get stuff done too. So
no, there's definitely logistical challenges there.
But it's really neat, and it's a lot of fun. And I like to tell people to be sure to enjoy the people that you're doing it with, and you know, let the puzzle and the event be what it is, and get into it. And you can have fun, or you can have a horrible time, depending on what you make of it and put into it. But are there any other things Anomaly wise you guys are looking forward to in the next few sets?
You know, I'm looking forward to actually getting back on ground this month, big time. I really am. I was doing the operating, or is it Niantic likes to call it intel operations or whatever, for just this in February, and I really want to actually get out there and see this new media. I'm actually really hyped for it. It's different. I don't know if it's going to be a good idea in the long run. I don't know if it's going to work well, but it's a different idea. I think it's really neat that we're doing it. I'm still torn about if I'm happy that we lost the periphery fields, but it's a new mechanic. It'd be entertaining to try out, and yeah, that's me at least.
So, and speaking of the media, we talked about this last week about places like Auckland. I don't know. It was rumors, so I don't know how much of it is true that they thought they had an hour after and they got a goose egg. Do we know info about that? Like, has anybody released anything we can talk about on what actually happened?
I'm not gonna. There's nothing OPSEC about what I'm about to say, but I think the exact wording of what Niantic said was the scoring of the media could be done up to an hour after the anomaly. They had a qualifier that kind of maybe. I don't think it was ever written in stone that they were going to score the media an hour after. So Niantic could have done it better in kind of specifying when they're going to score the anomaly, because it's kind of weird to have a game where you don't know when the game ends. But I imagine maybe they had some technical difficulties in kind of capturing that data, so they kind of gave themselves room to do it. That's my interpretation.
I think you're right, Stan, and I agree with Sam on that, or Tomogram on this. I think that's part of it. But from the lawyer perspective, for me, that's part of that rules thing. You got to read these things carefully. And sometimes you get excited and you just roll right through and you lose track of that stuff. And I don't know if that's what happened. I don't know if it was just some other mistakes. I've been hearing odd things from almost every single site about the media, where I don't know how much of that is just that unfamiliarity, where the rules aren't as clear, and we hear one thing and we make the wrong presumption of it. I don't know how much of it is actually a Niantic mistake. There's a few things where it's pretty clear to me, and I would trust that there may have been some sets that weren't even scored. At least that's what it seems like to me from the information I have. So it's still a work in progress, I think, but part of it is read your rules carefully, and sometimes the rules change on you, you don't realize it.
Right.
Nothing. And the Calvin Ball thing seems to apply sometimes.
So, do the POCs, do they have a chance to like come back and talk to Niantic about rules like that? Because I was wondering if there's maybe a language barrier, that maybe the wording was different or changed, or maybe it felt like it meant an extra hour in a different language or something. But do y'all have a chance to like talk to Niantic about stuff like that?
Yeah, we do. When you're active, when you're doing your sites coming up and things like that, you do have a direct channel with Niantic. You can do it individually, or you can do it with the other POCs from the Resistance and Enlightened together and things like that. And there's some opportunity to look at the rules, but I think things have changed compared to what it was a number of years ago, where there is not a we get them and then they get out pretty quick after that. It's very quickly is what it was like, at least with Recursion Prime. I'm not positive how short of a window was for Dorsana Prime, but it seemed when we went from Cassandra Prime to Recursion Prime, it was a shorter window, and I just think they're shifting more and more toward that. But that said, we do have that direct channel to say, hey, wait a second, what does this mean within the rules, at least before we do things.
And so if both factions kind of have that opportunity, is that like a shared opportunity? So you see, the questions that Resistance is asking Niantic and the answers they're getting, as well as they're getting the questions that the Enlightened are asking and the answers, or is it like separately, each side getting what they ask? Does that make sense?
Combined. So how it shook out, at least for our site, was we got access to the pre-release document, and we could annotate it with our questions, which would then be clarified or answered. This was on an abbreviated timetable, which I think if we looked, would be fairly consistent across most modern Anomaly dates. But for what was it, probably about a week that we had to look at that. The comments would be populated, and we'd get answers relatively quickly.
Right.
I think oftentimes we do have a chance to comment on the rules, but oftentimes, I think, actually almost all times, we come at it as Ingress players on, is this rule set fun? And very rarely do I see, in this year-long process, that I see anyone, actually no, I didn't see anyone try and debate or change the rules to give a faction a leg up. I think all the kind of discussions we've had about rules, even cross-faction with Niantic, have been how are players going to have a good time, and will the players feel like these rules are fair? So I think that's kind of where when we debate these rules with Niantic, that's where we come from.
Well, and another aspect of that, next to the fun part, is the clarification part. So making sure that they're understandable. And unfortunately, some things can slip through the cracks, and I'm sure that the media thing is definitely a candidate for that.
And so I guess we won't know. I mean, do they use the exact same rules for both sets in the same anomaly? So next, into this month, it'll be the exact same rules.
I feel like they tweak them.
Just a tiny bit.
Yes.
It's very small from what I remember.
So we may see some
sweeping changes, but yeah, there can be changes.
Yeah.
So, and we're less than 20 days from the next set. When do you expect to see the rules drop?
If they're going to change, I pretend to have no inside knowledge about when that's going to happen.
It's a bad question. So move on.
Well, it's
Niantic. So soon?
Like Quazon City, for example, just the most recent anomaly, they changed their play box 3 times. Between when they previewed, they previewed what it is, and then they changed it, and then they changed it again. So when it actually came up, no one knew. No one had a guaranteed idea of what the play box was going to look like until it actually happened. So, I mean, and I get it. I mean, this is a really big thing is what Niantic's doing. This is worldwide. I mean, I give them some slack in that sense that this is huge. This is not easy, what they're doing on that scale. But we have a track history of things kind of happening at the last minute. And the Calvin Ball jokes exist in both factions for a reason. And it's just, I mean, that's part of the fun, I think, in some ways, but still.
And that's talking about the anomaly sites that both factions kind of send in where they think the area should be for the play box. How much do y'all normally communicate with the other faction before y'all send it in to Niantic, or do y'all?
From New Orleans, we met up beforehand, and we basically agreed on the play box 99%. However, kind of our Mardi Gras dictated where we could play, because basically the play box one border was where the parades were rolling, so couldn't go that way. And then another border, there was a river, so we only had to debate 2 borders, and that wasn't very hard at all.
Yeah, Minneapolis is similar in that sense. We didn't have a Mardi Gras in the middle of it, but it's Niantic encourages you to talk to both sides. They're supposed to get together and give their proposal. Some sites come to an agreement. We came to an agreement within a decent amount of time. I know other sites have not. Vancouver, I believe, for example, was one where they could not agree, and the play box they ended up with was some kind of split the baby scenario, which was really strange. So,
well, and is that why you have things like in Kizan that they come back and change it? Is that the factions trying to get things changed, or is that Niantic finding issues with the play box and changing it?
Part of it is when we do the submissions, is we usually tell them what to watch out for many portals that should not be active for the anomaly, considering now that things are every portal's in the play box is active. You want to eliminate places like with Minneapolis, we eliminated Edmond County Medical Center. We wanted that not being an active game space, despite the fact that it was right in the middle of everything, because it's a hospital.
Right.
You don't want agents in there. Or there was some concern at one point about the Federal Reserve building, because that's a federal building and it has security. And if these portals can only be reached from certain areas, you're going to piss off the Federal Protection Services. And all of a sudden, you have agents that are getting arrested in the middle of the anomaly. And that's part of that's part of our job to help not let that happen. And they light up the portals. Niantic will light these up ahead of time so that the POCs can say, yep, everything's fine. You eliminated the stuff we don't want to see. Or you can say, holy shit, you screwed up. Come back and fix this. And with Quazon City, I believe that might have been some of the problems, or exclusions, as they call them, might have been incorrect. But there's also a chance for us as the POCs to come back and say, Niantic, you changed our box from what all of us said, and that's crazy. That's not going to work. For example, it's on Bourbon Street, and it's Mardi Gras. Why are you doing this to us? Not that that happened to Tomogram, but that'd be a really good example. So.
Well, I've heard stories of anomalies being played in like zoos or places where some agents had to like buy tickets to get in, because do y'all look out for that sort of stuff too, to make sure, oh, that wouldn't be good?
I think that's more of a thing of like a year or two ago. If I recall going through this process, I think one of the requirements or suggestions from Niantic for play boxes is please leave out areas where you have to pay to get into.
So in they've had Anomaly at NOLA 4 times, 3 times.
Oh, 4 times. This was our 4th.
So you expect it's going to happen again? You know, I mean, you make an assumption, maybe not next year, but do they talk to you ahead of a time about that, or do you find out pretty close to when they drop the sites?
No. They do not ask any of these sites in advance at all. Niantic tells you you're having an anomaly. They don't ask you if you want to have an anomaly. Because I think I was talking to someone, one of our attendees. If Niantic would have asked any of the locals, Resistance and ENL, a year ago, because that's when it was announced, a year ago, if they would have asked, it would have been a resounding no from both sides, because of Mardi Gras. Now that we won, I didn't mind it so much.
You would have told them not February, give us March, please, right? Is that what it would have been?
Yeah. So, but yeah, it would have been a resounding no. But I think Niantic is taking some feedback, and they are asking for kind of feedback from the POCs, the former POCs, where they might want to have new anomalies. And New Orleans should not be it. We've had 4. We're a tiny little city. It makes no sense why we've had 4 of these things.
I think someone just wants to go to Mardi Gras.
Yeah.
Krug just wanted to get down there and have some fun. Is that the...
It's a good vacation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, you should tell them Mobile has a Mardi Gras too. I mean, they could just try it over there one year. Uh-oh. Did I say something bad?
No, I think Mobile would be great. Well, I've been actually trying to campaign. It's something, it's on my list of things to do to write Niantic. Niantic has a lot of power in their hands in deciding where to have these anomalies. They can easily bring like a lot of people into a city, but not enough to kind of impact a city like Boston, Philly, New Orleans. Like a weekend, like last weekend when we had the anomaly, like none of the businesses would have felt an effect from our anomaly.
Right.
But if they were to have an anomaly in like Mobile, smaller up and coming cities that want to promote their tourism, who already have an airport and have hotels, I feel like if we have an anomaly in these smaller cities, it could make an impact on some small business. Like some poor girl can get braces.
And an impact on Ingress itself. I mean, if something like that happened in a smaller city that was still big enough to, you know, have some press there of their own, they're like, what is going on? What is this? And all suddenly their name gets thrown around that city a lot more, and then it gets picked up somewhere else. Like, oh, this is crazy. What was that?
It's because of...
So that's a good idea.
It's because of anomalies. I went to Kansas City, and learned that Kansas City is in Missouri. But I feel like having anomalies in cities like that would be great, because Kansas City is not somewhere I would have voluntarily gone on my own without an anomaly. Now,
do you think they would have an issue finding a core group in some of these cities? Like you said, you know, y'all are used to it having, you know, this is your 4th one. Some smaller city that, you know, if they had it in Huntsville, like there's no way we could throw it together. Like I would end up killing myself, right? Like we just don't have enough locals that could. We would have to get outside help. Like, so is there room for that, to have almost like a national like group that will support smaller cities?
Yes. Well, one of the other requirements is portal density. If you don't have the portals, that can't happen at all. But New Orleans, we didn't do this by ourselves. Like, it wasn't just all done by the locals. We had so much help from outsiders, from all across the country, So it wasn't just done locally. It was a national effort. We even had Canadians helping us out, so it wasn't just nationally. It was like a North American effort to win New Orleans.
Is that on the ground, like getting the setup? You know, talking to the hotels and like I don't even know like all that goes into that first kind of getting prepared. And that may be opening a can of worms with the hotels. I think they changed how they were doing that.
Get them started, please.
Is that,
I'm not getting on my soapbox.
I don't think we can talk. I'm not sure what we can talk about the hotels because I'm not what the state. Don't know what the state of is.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be afraid of being a POC because kind of within Enlightened, we have a lot of experience organizing, running anomalies, and a lot of these people really want to help share that knowledge and help other new POCs. So I wouldn't feel like you're as a POC, like even from a smaller city, without much experience, I wouldn't worry too much about it. There's help, and if POCs are willing to ask for help, they can run a very successful anomaly.
I have to agree completely with Stan. I mean, or Tomogram, I'm trying to be good about this. I mean, Dark Knight and I mean, we're from Minneapolis, we did stuff, but I mean, we had local people engaged and we had other people come and help. We had one person even from Germany work on some stuff for us, which was, again, to get that almost international field of things. And I think that's very factually based. I can't speak too much of the resistance. I don't know how they do their back end, but I wouldn't be surprised if they had much of the same thing too. I mean, this game, Ingress itself brings people together on these large-scale things. And again, that's kind of going back to what I like about Anomalies. It's a chance for all these skill sets to come together. It's a chance for people to be a big team together and do things. It's amazing. And I think a smaller city, I have to agree, Tomogram, I think is right again. A smaller city could really do well with an Anomaly. I mean, with the right size, I mean, you still need an airport of some sort that's decently easy to get to. You do need hotels that are there to get there. I mean, I'm in Sioux Falls, South Dakota right now. I don't think they could support an Anomaly to the level that a lot of people want. I don't know what's going to happen. But like Green Bay, Wisconsin would be one I can think off the top of my head. There's like Dayton, Ohio, right? I mean, stuff that's not huge.
Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Yeah. Like Baton Rouge, I guess maybe you could make that work there. And they'd probably Dragoon, Tomogram, and again to do something if it was that close. But I mean, it's something where you can get to easily. I think Niantic would appreciate that, where there's infrastructure to get people over there to enjoy themselves and there's something entertaining. And I agree, it's a great place. It gets people engaged and make a town better and look better. I mean, I could be good and not go on and on about things I've seen while I travel for work for that. So.
Well, I know it's not easy, like setting up the Anomaly, and there's so many agents that get to go to Anomalies and have a great time. So thank y'all for putting in the effort for doing that, and everybody who's putting in the effort on Resistance and on Enlightened the same, because there's a lot of work that goes there that a lot of agents get to enjoy and maybe don't even know how much work that is. But it's we were talking, and you Tomogram, were talking about just wanting to get more people out and playing Ingress and coming to Anomalies, and that's kind of what sparked us doing this show to talk about it. So I appreciate that, and it is a great time for people to meet other agents and have fun. We're going to wind down in just a minute, but I wanted to make sure if there was other things y'all wanted to mention or talk about that had to do with Anomalies or Ingress in general. I didn't want to leave it out. So anything, Tomogram?
Well, I see you had some questions in the chat. One was asking about spoofing. So in regards to spoofing, it does happen, but it doesn't really affect the outcome. Niantic watches the playbox really closely the day of the Anomaly, so it's really hard to kind of affect the outcome of Anomaly via spoofing. They've also changed their rules to kind of minimize that. and especially with this one, they are now taking down overhead fields, but that's been there for about a year. But they're now also taking down any interfering links from outside the play box. So yeah, if people are concerned about spoofing and affecting anomalies, it's minimal. It's actually one of the reasons why I like anomalies. It's kind of more pure. It's harder to cheat. You have an endpoint. You have results at the end of the day, and that's kind of what I love about it. I think that was the only question in your Twitch chat.
Well, it brought a question to me, so that's good. The global challenge. How do y'all feel that as POCs for an anomaly, like global challenges being worth 2 points? You know, do you think that's okay? Do you think they should kind of look at that, or do you think 2 points is fine, even though a site's worth 1?
I see my colleagues looking a little exasperated, so I'm going to go ahead and dissent a little bit. I think this is very similar to some of the other points that I've talked about. It's a work in progress. It's a really good thing. The global challenge is a really good thing for people that are somewhat remote and can't or aren't invested enough to actually get to an anomaly yet as a way that they can participate. Before I got to the anomaly scene, I was in one of those remote areas, and I saw, oh, hey, Ingress is having an event, but it's all the way over in California, and I don't really want to buy a plane ticket right now to California. And yeah, I've changed my mind about that since then, but it would have been nice at the time to say, oh, hey, there's something that little old me can do to contribute here. And yeah, it's still very much a work in progress, seeing how they've shaken out so far in terms of making it feel like everybody is contributing, because it does seem like it's still just a few, and they're able to impact the series score as a whole a little bit too much with the global fielding and whatnot. So that's a little bit rough, but hopefully they learn from it, and we eventually get to a place where it's balanced, where the global score feels like an anomaly for everyone.
Yeah. Like, I think if they showed the score, like, so you had a kind of live view of where the score is going, and then maybe have it between the anomalies, like it goes on between the two sets, so then everybody can participate, and it doesn't feel like, oh, well, I can't participate because I'm at the anomaly, as opposed to, not being able to go at all.
That's another avenue to explore, yeah.
I'm not too happy about this most recent global challenge because it's really ripe for bots to affect it. I don't know how closely Niantic is watching it, but I feel like this is a challenge that can easily be kind of affected simply with bots. So I don't know how I feel truly about it. I like the global challenges, but maybe it could be separate from how the anomalies are scored. Kind of the anomalies are supposed to determine some random outcome in the storyline, but maybe the global challenge could be separate on itself and not affect the global kind of the anomaly scoring. But who knows? Maybe Niantic will come up with something better in the future. But I did not appreciate this recent global challenge simply because bots could affect it so easily.
Well, and I would hope that they would come out with stats like, hey, we banned this many bots during the anomaly. We used it as a honeypot to find the bots during this season. Like, that would be great information to, like, oh, well, they actually did something with that. Get them from both sides, right? Sorry, what were you saying, Dark Knight?
Oh, I was asking Tomogram if that means that he wants global shards back.
Well, that's less easily affected by bots, right? And
yeah.
That means I don't want shards. If we had shards, I would build a null field around New Orleans. I would just build a wall around New Orleans. No shards are coming in here.
It is a nightmare, yes.
So, yeah.
No, on the bots thing, what did I have about the bots thing? Yeah, I don't know about the bots situation, because like you said, potential for a honeypot, so that's one way to look at it. Yeah, it's rough trying to design play around the people that are violating terms of service.
Yeah. Sorry, I jumped there for a second. I heard global shards and my connection decided to get awkward.
That'll happen, yeah.
It's connection sharded.
Yeah, I was going to say, just because you move on too much on the global challenge thing, I want to throw it. I think it's really good that it's something to get everybody involved. That's a great thing. Yeah. Factions, period. I think it's a good idea. I kind of actually think it's a good. I like it in the sense that it's the same time as the Anomaly, because a lot of us hardcore people, we might end up being the ones running the show if it's between the Anomalies, and maybe it's a time to have some other people get involved who can't travel but want to be that hardcore. It's a chance for them. But what Tomogram's talking about, it being spoofer potential here, I'm going to throw a conspiracy theory. Maybe this is Niantic's way of rooting those guys out. I don't know. Maybe. I said it here first, though. That's what happens. If I'm right, then I was right, and I can point to something.
It's delightfully optimistic, and I encourage that wholeheartedly.
It is optimistic.
Yep. So hopefully that's it. And the thing is, they probably won't ever tell us if it was or not. So, but we're bumping up against an hour here. I want to thank y'all for joining me tonight. This has been really eye-opening on some of what goes on with Anomalies, and I feel like we have another hour or two to talk in the future. And find out how it's going. Maybe we'll have a progress report on Anomalies in general, and maybe we can get some counterparts from the Resistance to join in and have a back and forth as well. But that's all I got. If there's anything, y'all got one last thing to say, and then we're going to get out of here. Tomo?
Well, I encourage everyone to go to either Atlanta or Chicago, or actually go to both. Can't win this without people, and it's a really fun time. It's one of the best times to have in Ingress.
Dark Knight?
Agree wholeheartedly. Go to as many of the ancillary events as you can, because you never know when those won't be available, and they're a great experience.
Lawgeek?
Have fun. Just go and enjoy yourself. I was asking Rez in Minneapolis, you're in my city, are you having fun? I want to beat you, but are you having fun? So.
Well, and thank y'all again for being on the show, and thanks for everybody watching, being in the chat room, and go check out hashtag Ruck Your Dog, see what that's all about. It's the challenge this month for Go Ruck. And we'll talk about that a little bit more next week. And hopefully Sally Belly will be back with us. Give her a little comm bomb. Tell her you missed her this week. And with that, we will see you later. Bye-bye, everyone.
Good night.